Hello, everyone, man. Scratchline ENT, man. King Stop Killing Kings. The marathon continues, man. I want to take a minute to share my story with everyone, man, in hopes that sharing my testimony will empower you. From the age of 8.5 until I entered prison at 17, I was in and out of juvenile detention. These past 8 years that I've been on from prison have been the longest time I've been in the streets without being arrested since I was 8.5. But I'm not here to talk about that. At 17, I committed the crime of strong arm robbery, copped out to a 1 1/3 to 4, got adjudicated a youthful offender, which means I went to prison without a felony on my record. And while serving that term, I got into a fight with correctional officers, got beat like a neo slave, given an additional 16 years in prison. But I'm not here to talk about that either. Before being railroaded in romper room court and given 16 years, I was first given 8 years in solitary confinement. There, inside that place that is designed to destroy the very light inside you, is where my story begins. In solitary, the whole, SHU, 24-hour lockdown human containment, completely isolated from anything remotely civilized. There, inside that pain pit, inside that place of isolated living death, I watch men lose their minds, their souls. But it was there in isolation where I found my true self. In solitary with nothing but time, I was introduced to yoga, meditation. I discovered a talent to write and speak. I discovered Black history, world history, Egyptian history, African history, revolutionary history. I discovered a greatness about my people I had never known before. But I also discovered that I am the sole controller of my life. While most around me were losing it and giving it to the human savagery that isolation breeds by throwing piss and shit at each other and giving it to the senseless yelling and arguing about nothing when no one can physically get it to each other, I read and studied. I read Soledad Brother by Comrade George Jackson, and he detailed how brothers would make crude zip guns out of the elastic in their boxes to shoot at the racist white men who were throwing shit at them, showed me that we weren't supposed to be doing that. More importantly, isolation didn't affect me as it affected others because as a child in the system, I would be frequently isolated from other kids to be disciplined. So I had already learned to occupy my mind with reading in juvenile detention. My first two books I ever read was Man, Child, and the Promised Man by Claude Brown and The Autobiography of Malcolm X by Alex Haley. Amongst the time in the box and discovering myself amongst the madness, I discovered a book that would become my Bible until I was released from prison in 2012. I had discovered Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice by Dennis Kimbrough and Napoleon Hill. See, because of yoga, meditation, working out, etc., I had already developed the required discipline for success. And I discovered this on my 5th year out of my 8 years of isolation. In 2008, when I was released from SHU back into the general population, I had written a book. I had written a poetry book. I had obtained my GED. I had developed numerous business ideas, concepts, and ideas. I had learned how to focus my attention and find the inspiration and motivation in people who had made it despite life circumstances. People like Tyler Perry, rapper Mano, singer Life Jennings, singer Jaheim. But most of all that I have gotten out of isolation in prison, I started to heal from my childhood wounds that were only open because I continued to keep them open. I forgave myself for every hurt, pain, trauma, scar that the world had inflicted on me that I had in turn inflicted on myself. I moved on. I learned that holding on to that pain and standing still, and stillness isn't growth. In order to grow, you have to let it go. In order to grow, you have to let it go. And in doing that, I gained responsibility. Responsibility is owning up to what part I played in what just happened to me. And that was the rebirth of my maturity. In closing, I hope that you take away from my story, man, that the pain, the hurt, the suffering that life throws at you does not define you, nor is it your fault. And you are the sole controller of your destiny. And may you find inspiration in the beauty of my dreams. I want to thank everybody for allowing me to share my story. I took this time now during this quarantine and this isolation to share my story, man, because I know that a lot of people are uncomfortable and not familiar with dealing with this downtime. Um, I'm sharing my story. I'm a poet. I am a spoken word artist, man. I am an author. I am a writer and a creator. I will be publishing my novel online entitled Love Hurts, and I will also be in publishing soon my short story, The Hunt. And I will continue to bring y'all spoken word on a regular, man. I would like to support that. And I intend to go on a speaking tour to speak to all the youth that's inside the system, man, to give them inspiration and motivation to continue believing in their dreams, man, and to change the narrative of their lives, man. And I just want to big everybody up, man, and stay safe and during this time of quarantine, man, because I know and understand everybody is not capable of dealing with this downtime, man. So from me to you, man, Scratchline AENT, man, King, stop killing kings. The marathon continues. Peace.